What is going on, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the Main Event Review. It really is going to be a WrestleMania review, let's be honest, because it's WrestleMania week. There's a lot of content happening on the WWE podcast, and I'm here to put in my thoughts, my 2 cents on everything WrestleMania. But there was 2 main event matches that we are going to quickly flash through first, given that it is still the main event show. But yeah, straight on to WrestleMania. I'll save my thoughts for that after I get through the 2 matches, of course. But again, it's been great to be here. Obviously a heavy wrestling week. Watched both nights back to back. Netflix wasn't a place where we escaped from ads either. So internationally, we still had the same problem you guys in America had. So we'll get to all that later, as I mentioned. But we'll start with the first match of main event. It was a women's sort of centric main event, which was good. A lot of these guys or girls missed out on WrestleMania, but they were able to sort of showcase themselves on main event there, which started with Zelina Vega taking on Jordynne Grace. So you would have thought Jordynne Grace could potentially be competing for a women's US title. And I have to say, like, those mid-card titles, the Intercontinental one was defended, but the US one has not been, and just goes to show how important elevating titles are, because Becky Lynch has done a fantastic job at that, and so has AJ Lee. But yes, I digress. We had Jordynne Grace taking on Zelina Vega, where we had Jordynne Grace getting the victory here with that backpack stunner, and yeah, honestly expected here. Obviously, Jordynne Grace is coming out of TNA and NXT and is onto the main roster. She obviously had her little sort of feud with Jade Cargill, just a filler before WrestleMania. But ever since that, she hasn't really done much. So maybe this might be some momentum to push her into this year and her plans. Maybe going for the women's US title. I think that's where she's probably situated at the moment. That's where I sort of see her. But she did obviously lose her number 1 contender match, which is a shame. But I think we'll be seeing a lot of Jordynne Grace, I think, this year. I think she'll have an opportunity to battle for those mid-card titles. And, you know, she did really well here. She's obviously a beast. She's got real strength. She's a specimen, I would say. So, you know, keen to see how she goes. She's still obviously new around here. Hasn't made the impact that maybe Lash Legend has and the other NXT guys. But nevertheless, I think we'll do some good things, hopefully this year, for her sake and, you know, for the product's sake overall, to get that women's division more competitive. And then we got Zelina Vega, who obviously has gone to the dark side. I really like this sort of new gimmick. It is definitely a rip-off of what Karrion Kross and Scarlett could have done. They've obviously replaced them with her and Aleister Black. They don't get the victory here, but we're going to go on the train of Aleister Black. Obviously, he seems to be involved in, like, Randy's change. He's been in backstage, and the original plan was for him to be involved. I don't know how Selena would get herself involved in that, but I think with this new dark character, it's great and all, but I think she needs to get involved in the women's division, because she's not really using it for that. She's sort of using it to be sort of Aleister Black's side piece, you know? And that's not what we want for Zelina Vega. We want her to sort of compete. Obviously, before that, she was doing a really good job in battling for the mid-card. She won the US title. She's quite undersized, but I think she offers a lot, and she's really good on the mic. So I think she can obviously give more than I think she's giving at the moment. So hopefully that changes for her, but this is not a really good start for her momentum, getting the loss here. And then we had Maxine Dupree taking on Raquel Rodriguez. Honestly, both of these guys, or both of them, actually had an opportunity to potentially be on WrestleMania, crazy as it sounds. Like, Maxine Dupree was Women's Intercontinental Champion for a bit, and Raquel Rodriguez was battling Stephanie Vaquer, and I think had a really solid 2025. So it's only up for both of these two. Maxine Dupree is obviously really young. Raquel Rodriguez is slightly a little bit more proven. That's probably why she got the victory here with the Tejana Bomb. And I do suspect that potentially we are going to see a program with Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. I think it's bound to happen. And I think Raquel Rodriguez is ready. And I feel as though that she deserves to have the title for a bit. I'm not sure how big or long her run deserves to be, but I feel like she needs to be up and around that echelon, because I think she's proven to do really good things, especially at the start of 2026 and 2025 as well. So I don't think main event is a place for her. And she obviously dominated this matchup as well. I'm surprised it went longer than what it did. Maxine Dupree had a small comeback, but obviously it wasn't good enough to get the victory here. So Raquel Rodriguez, I'm expecting massive things for her. Probably out of the 4 women I've spoke about, I think Raquel Rodriguez has the biggest potential to do something massive, especially with the fact that you've got Liv Morgan lurking around. Obviously, they're still together, but there have been some slight sort of fractions between the two, which haven't been sort of addressed to the level it should have. So maybe we'll see that this year. But yeah, that pretty much is the main event review. We'll go straight on to WrestleMania, and I'll put it black and white to you guys. Night 1 was bloody terrible, rubbish, wasn't a fan. I don't know what else to say. I did not enjoy Night 1 at all. I think it was rubbish. The advertisement was a joke. The entries, they always take long. I'm not surprised at that, but man, some of the matches went way too short, and you just thought, why are they going so short? This is literally giving me like SmackDown vibes, some of these matches. Like, honestly, these matches felt like main event SmackDown matches or main event Raw matches, which is, it's not what you want to see, man. It's not what you want to see in your biggest sort of PLE. But Night 2 definitely turned it around. I watched it live, but to be honest, I didn't have a really good sleep that night, so I couldn't really focus. So I rewatched it again, and from when I first saw it, I was sort of annoyed that there was no like new angles coming through, or any major surprises or returns or something crazy to happen. But then as I sort of went back and watched it again, I think it was a really good Night 2 show. I think there was some really, really good matches here. I was a big fan of the main event. I think the main event was incredible. The pace of the match was unbelievable. There was some really good spots in it, and it was a perfect main event match. Like, I think it was just really well done. It was great to see Finn Balor as the Demon. Turning that to a street fight was really good. Seeing Trick Williams do what he'd done. Like, we'll continue on with it, but like match by match. But essentially, I think Night 2 definitely saved Night 1, because if Night 2 was exactly like Night 1, it would have been rubbish. But honestly, the advertisement, bloody joke. They need to stop that. Like, I know they want to make money, but they are killing the brand, and it's just killing the viewer experience. It's just. Can you be more subtle with trying to make money? Like, seriously, we want a good product. People want to come and watch and enjoy this. And killing it with advertisement just hurts. Like, already adding these celebrities, which I know I'm going to get to Speed, but like Speed, Lil Yachty, Jelly Roll, Pat McAfee, they are obviously view plays, and I like it, but when it's forced, it's just frustrating. But we'll get on to the very first match, which was Speed and the Vision of Austin Theory and Logan Paul taking on LA Knight and the Usos. And let me tell you, really impressed with what Speed's doing. I think he has the potential to potentially, have a career in WWE. I know he's doing a lot of things right now, but he's only 21 years old. He's a high flyer. He's super athletic, and he looked absolutely chiseled in there. So, credit where credit's due for Speed. Obviously, he had that spot with Logan Paul doing that speed splash from the ring corner to the announce table. That was impressive. But the match overall, obviously, LA Knight getting the victory there with sort of Speed getting pushed into Austin Theory. And yeah, I think the main moral of this story was to obviously get LA Knight and the Usos involved. Definitely LA Knight. It could have been an argument that Bronson Reed would have taken Speed's spot, but getting Speed in there was really good. And, the whole purpose of this was to, eventually blame Speed, which is what the Vision ended up doing, attacking him, and, having a feel-good ending there with Speed, going back to being, the good guy in this, and, attacking Logan Paul and attacking Austin Theory. But, it was a really good match, I would say, but I think it was definitely too short. And then we had the street fight between Drew McIntyre and Jacob Fatu. It was a great angle. I really liked the fact that the toolbox was something that Drew McIntyre was scarred from, especially going back to when CM Punk and Drew McIntyre faced each other in Hell in a Cell. That massive spot where, CM Punk smashed Drew McIntyre with the toolbox. And I think that was a legit, real, blood coming out. Obviously, sometimes they blade themselves, but that was legit. That felt legit. And, it took him back to that moment. We obviously had Drew McIntyre throwing the wrench into Jacob Fatu. We had some really good spots, and then obviously ended with the fact at the part where Jacob Fatu did hit Drew McIntyre with the toolbox, and then hit the moonsault and got the victory there, which is a massive win for Jacob Fatu. I think, as I mentioned, I did expect Jacob Fatu to win this one, because obviously I think he needs it more than Drew, and I think Drew can continue going on this run of getting screwed over and continuing to wreak havoc and be unpredictable on SmackDown, and that's what we want to see. We know he got stitched up with not being able to defend the title, but I think he did a really good job here. And, they had these two matches to eventually hype you up to buy ESPN Premium. International viewers didn't have that luxury. We were able to just obviously continue on with Netflix, which I think is a luxury more so. And that led us to sort of the next matches as well, which started with the women's Fatal 4-Way Tag Team title match. We had Bayley and Lyra Valkyria. We had Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss. We had Nia Jax and Lash Legend. And then we had the Bella Twins. And we all knew that Nikki Bella could potentially miss this out due to her injury. It was heavily sort of announced and reported. And also, unfortunately, because, WWE loves to spoil anything online, I sort of knew that Paige was coming back the day before. I would have loved that they kept that a secret. I think that's why the fans weren't sort of too crazy. They did pop for her return. It's been almost like 8 years since she's come back. And obviously she's unbelievable. She's a key figure in the women's revolution. But, it was sort of spoiled for everyone. So even for myself. But I was really glad to see her there. Obviously, coming back. And, they got the victory. The match was pretty decent. The most interesting thing, and people probably have looked over this, is that, Alexa Bliss had the opportunity to stop and help Charlotte Flair. And the reason why I bring this up and why it's so important is because if you saw the episode on SmackDown before WrestleMania, Charlotte Flair did say to Alexa Bliss that going for titles is more important than friendships. Although she appreciates friendships, going for titles is more important. So when Alexa Bliss was looking at Charlotte Flair getting attacked by Nikki Bella with the crutches, she obviously was prioritizing the opportunity to win the tag team titles instead of helping her friend Charlotte Flair in that situation. So she saw what happened, saw her get attacked, proceeded to go for the Twisted Bliss onto Paige, who was lying there, instead of attacking Nikki Bella. And you can make an argument that if you attack Nikki Bella there, you go back in the ring and you can potentially win the match and Charlotte Flair's available. You don't know. That's probably going to be the storyline between those two. But that allowed for Paige to do a counter and, hit the Rampage and get the 1-2-3 victory. And we have new women's tag team champions, So that's going to be the interesting storyline after this, is how Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss come back from it. I think those two need to go their separate ways. Do they need to be feuding? I don't think so. But just keep that in mind. That's something that I sort of picked up in this match out of all things, is that, Alexa Bliss had the chance to sort of help Charlotte Flair, but chose to go for the titles, which is something that Charlotte Flair said was a priority anyway. So that's going to be an interesting angle. And, that's something that I just picked up in that match. But again, it's really good to see Paige back. As I said, she was one of the main sort of drivers in the women's revolution. And, we can't go back to the fact that the Raw after WrestleMania, she beat AJ for the title. It's like a really iconic moment and something that, was awesome and gave us a really good Raw after WrestleMania moment. And, she's back now. I think she's going to be back for a while. So hopefully she does some good things. Maybe we see her and AJ run it back. I think that would be awesome. They obviously have a lot of history with each other. And, getting people like Paige and AJ Lee back just opens the floor for so many feuds. And that's something that I'm super keen to see when it comes to this. But, that pretty much wraps up that match. And then we'll move on sort of to the second match of sort of the main show rather than the pre-show. And that was Becky Lynch taking on AJ Lee. Becky retained the title after so many attempts of trying to cheat. And, that beef with Jessica Carr continues to go on. And I genuinely thought at a stage, when I was doing the prediction, I thought Becky Lynch would win it. Just because, to be honest, the betting market said that. I lost the bets anyway, and I'll tell you why at the end. That was really frustrating. But Jessica Carr being in this match, I would have thought maybe would have helped AJ Lee because of the beef between those two would have led to something, but it ended up not being the case. Despite how many chances Jessica Carr gave Becky Lynch, she didn't disqualify her. She obviously used Jessica Carr as a shield to sort of distract AJ Lee and then take advantage of that opportunity to hit her with the manhandle slam, and that did get her the victory there. So, AJ Lee was really good in this match, but I don't think this match was anything super crazy. I think now these two need to move on from each other. I think we've seen enough of those two. Maybe not. Maybe at Backlash they go again. But, it's great to see AJ Lee back at WrestleMania. I don't think she is at the same level she was years ago. And, that's not a knock on her. That's just obviously the fact that she's been away for so long. But I'd love to see, a bit more better in-ring performance. I don't know. Maybe I'm being too critical, but the match wasn't long enough for me to sort of reflect on it there. But, it continues. We continue the beef with Jessica Kyle, and we continue the beef with Becky Lynch, and I'm sort of more keen and compelled to see what's going to happen with that, rather than now AJ Lee and Becky Lynch, because I think it's sort of, been wrapped up in that aspect. But that pretty much sort of my opinion on that match. Yeah, it was quite average, and I think the right decision was made until sort of we see what happens after this, whether they go again or. I just want to know what's going on with Jessica Kyle and Becky Lynch. Is this going to happen the whole time? Is Jessica Kyle going to actually wrestle? Is this going to be addressed, or is it just going to be something that happens all the time? That's what sort of I took from that match more so than the match itself, which is, look, night one wasn't my favorite. So that's probably why I wasn't really focusing on the match itself. And then we had Gunther and Seth Rollins, and, this match was probably the best match of the night in terms of just wrestling display. And, when you have someone like Gunther and someone like Seth Rollins and the opportunity to, get them in ring without really good storyline, is probably the best case scenario for these two and for a situation, because that despite the storyline being sort of forced and them not actually really feuding with each other, you're going to get a really good match. And this one certainly didn't disappoint. But sort of the main highlight of this was obviously the fact that Bron Breakker came in and speared Seth Rollins. Something that I did expect and something that I predicted. And you know what? Sometimes it's good. When you predict something and it happens, it's great. Especially Bron Breakker coming back. How good's that? We really missed him. I feel like we really missed him. And, him coming back, spearing Seth Rollins, allowing Gunther to put the sleeper and pass out Seth Rollins. Great. Didn't get him to tap out. Also good. Protects him. And then that 75 dash spear. Look, I know he didn't hit the spear well, but the fact that he was able to dash and, still execute, do the flip, was quite awesome. And, I miss Bron Breakker, so it's good to have him back. And, we're moving on to those two definitely feuding with each other for a really long time. And I'm excited to see where that goes. I think, best case scenario for this match, and definitely the best match of the night as well. Gunther probably, from what I've heard, could be taking on Roman Reigns in the future. So, look out for that. There is a lot of rumors there. We thought maybe it would be Brock Lesnar, but we obviously heard the news of that. I'll get to that, obviously. That might not be the case now. So maybe Roman Reigns is on the cards for Gunther, and that one will be really exciting. And then we had, this has got to be the worst match, and it's no fault of these two. In terms of just the timings that they got, 5 minutes is just a complete joke. Liv Morgan taking on Stephanie Vaquer. Liv Morgan obviously performing her song that she released. Not sure if that's going to be her permanent song going forward. It could. I wouldn't be surprised. But I do sort of like her song. And then Stephanie Vaquer coming out to a new song, which is... Can we go back to her old song, please? This new song is trash. I'm not a big fan of this song. I really missed her old song that she came in with. I don't know why they need to change her theme. I don't think it was necessary. But, these two are my favorite women in the division as well. And to see this match go like this, where you had Stephanie Vaquer kick out of Oblivion, which only one person kicked out of that, and that was Rhea Ripley. In a match like this, it's just disappointing because that move is obviously such a strong finisher, and then you get it ruined by the fact that the match was too short. It just kills you. And obviously Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez came in and interfered, and that sort of helped Liv Morgan get the victory. But yeah, I think overall it was well deserved. I think Liv Morgan deserves to have the title. I think she's been amazing since she's returned and continues to be amazing. And obviously I think Stephanie Vaquer did all she could with the title and this run. I don't think there was much more out of it. I don't think there's nothing on the cards for her after this. I think she'll bounce back really solidly. Maybe she'll get a rematch. But, I think there'll be another opportunity for her to be a women's champion again. But as for Liv Morgan, I think, we're really excited to see what happens with her. You've obviously got Raquel Rodriguez being there, and I suspect that those two are going to take on each other in the future and turn on each other. So, that's good. We'll see if she has her new music. But yeah, I'm very happy for her. And she earned it, won the Royal Rumble, did it well, and she's women's champion again. And then we have the main event, Cody Rhodes taking on Randy Orton. And you know what? The fact that they are trying to justify Pat McAfee being the guy that everyone dislikes, and then everyone saying that, oh, he brought the views, or this, is just utter bullshit. And it's actually pissed me off because you have Cody Rhodes, You have Randy Orton, who have long-lasting history together. Why the F would we need to bring someone in like Pat McAfee? And he just made it a lot worse. Even in the main event, just made it about him. Like, people were saying, oh, Pat McAfee's the one that brings the views and everyone hates him. Like, you just wanted someone to be clearly hated. And it's not even Pat McAfee himself. It's his fault. It's just the fact that he's obviously an ESPN employee and ESPN pushed him to be in there. It's bullshit. Because the fact is that he came in, he obviously came, attacked Cody Rhodes at the start, MC'd for Randy Orton, and then Jelly Roll, Jelly Roll had to get involved as well, frog splashed him through the table, caused him to be injured, came back out. We had a really good match with Randy and Cody solely alone. Opportunity, again, this could have just been built for a long time. Their feud, their history, didn't need Pat McAfee. Don't know why he was in it. But, we had these two battling it out. And, Cody Rhodes, very heely. Very, very heely. I think the heel turn is coming, guys. I don't know when, but they've been teasing it for so long. And, look, Randy Orton obviously is the quote-unquote heel here, but no one hates him. So, it wouldn't make sense for someone like Randy Orton to be the one that's heavily booed. Cody Rhodes was clearly heavily booed here, but he not only was heavily booed, he was acting like a heel. You saw the distraction, kicking Randy Orton with a low blow, trying to take advantage of opportunities to win the match. Like, it was crazy. And then you had Pat McAfee come out, and you knew it was going to happen. He obviously didn't count quick enough, and at that point, I knew straight away that Randy Orton wasn't going to be happy because that was a really, really slow count. If you're going to come in and ref a match and, try to help Randy Orton win, you're going to have to count quicker than that, Pat McAfee. And he got punished for it, hit the RKO on him. Again, they made it about him. And obviously Cody Rhodes took the opportunity and hit a crossroads on Randy Orton to get the victory. In a surprise for me, I got this one completely wrong. It cost me money as well because I betted on multiple matches for night one. And this was the only one that cost me. So I'm a bit shattered about that, but otherwise, you know what? I actually don't mind the decision. I think it's the right decision for Cody Rhodes to retain the title. I didn't consider the fact that Pat McAfee could screw Randy Orton over. I misjudged that, and I kind of liked it because I don't think he obviously purposely did it, but it was great to see that, Randy Orton gets away from Pat McAfee, and now the fact that after the match we had Randy attack Cody Rhodes and then punt him, which was really exciting. I was so happy the punt came back. I'm so happy that Randy Orton actually punted Cody Rhodes. We're getting a continuation of this feud. And you know what? For a long time, we've never seen a main event match end where, well, in a long time, really, probably the last time would have been Seth Rollins cashing in, where the feud will continue. And obviously, Randy Orton is not going to let this one go. So that was some positive. That's why I was happy about it. That's why I also like the fact that Cody retained, because now I'm hoping that we're just getting the history between these two and it's just going to be about these two. The only way that I could justify Pat McAfee being back is if he somehow decides to ally with Cody Rhodes. That would be interesting. That then I'd be interested in. I'm not going to lie. Like, Cody Rhodes turning heel and, joining forces with Pat McAfee would be compelling. I think that would be more compelling than, Pat McAfee, just basically being like sucking up to Randy Orton and just hyping him up. I just don't think Randy Orton needs someone to do that for him. And hopefully that's put to bed after that RKO. But, you get my drift here. Like, Cody Rhodes, heel vibes was good. Match itself was decent. Ending, I liked in terms of the punt. But just Pat McAfee really ruined this for me. And that's why people are booing him. They're not booing him because they don't like him. They actually really like him. They're booing him because he doesn't belong. He didn't deserve to be in this part. And they should have learned from Travis Scott. Like, unlike Travis Scott, Pat McAfee actually cares for the business and wouldn't be clumsy, and they like him. So there's a difference there, but I just don't think we needed him here. We may need him later if he's going to join with Cody Rhodes. I'm not against that, but hopefully now, since Randy Orton's obviously punted Cody Rhodes, that might mean Cody Rhodes might be out for a while. They get to continue their feud, and it might be mainly just focused on those two. That would be lovely. But yeah, overall, not the biggest fan of this WrestleMania, the first night for that matter, because it's just the matches were too short, too many advertisements, and it was quite bland. Like, I'm so glad that this was the first night main event because it makes it a lot better, and obviously day 2 recovers, which we get to straight away. And it started off with a bang. Obafemi coming out, massive pop, massive chance, really good.
he's really over at the moment, and he takes on Brock Lesnar. The match ends in 5 minutes. You had Brock Lesnar F5ing Obafemi. He didn't sell the move, got up straight away, hit a choke slam, and then hit a fall from grace. And, got the victory there. Obafemi within 5 minutes getting there. But that's not the main story. The main story is that Brock Lesnar looks to be officially retired and had his last match. And you could see the raw emotion from Brock Lesnar crying at the end, and even Paul Heyman. It was quite an emotional moment. And, Brock Lesnar's done a lot for the company, man. He's a beast. He's been fantastic ever since he's, been a part of WWE. And even when he's come back, he's always had massive pops. I'm a big fan of Brock Lesnar. Obviously, the allegations probably didn't help the tail end of his career. But, I think he finished off in style. I would have thought maybe that Gunther's favor would have been, or Paul Heyman's favor to Gunther would have been to verse Brock Lesnar and him be the one to end his career. But I think Brock Lesnar left on his own terms, went out on his own terms, got squashed, and, finished off really well. And, yeah, that's the last time we'll probably see Brock Lesnar wrestling in a WWE ring, unless he does miraculously come back, but I doubt it. What a hell of a career, and a great way to sort of end off, his career, passing the reins to Obafemi, who, he's pushing potentially to verse Roman Reigns at the end of the year. So, Obafemi is red hot at the moment, and I think they need to take this match and put him to the moon and put a rocket on him, because, he's got the fans, he's got the power, Obafemi's massive at the moment. And I was actually really excited for this match going into it. I'm not going to lie, of all matches, I was so keen to watch this. And, it did deliver. It was obviously a short match, but, I think for very obvious reasons, Brock Lesnar having his last match and not being able to really continue on and carry as much as he can. And then we had the second pre-show match, which was the 6-man ladder match. Man, I love ladder matches, and this one definitely did not disappoint. We had a bunch of really, really good spots. We obviously had, I think, the spot of the night, which was the Mexican Destroyer on the ladder. Just an amazing move, and the fact that Penta is able to safely execute it just goes to show how much of a good luchador and wrestler he is, man. He's just elite, and I'm glad he also retained as well. There were some moments where you thought Javon Evans was going to win, JD McDonough was going to win, Rey Mysterio, Rusev. They all had opportunities, even Dragon Lee, to win this. But ended up going to Penta. I was a bit annoyed that the fact that we didn't get to see the entries of Rusev, Dragon Lee, and JD McDonough. I think that's really frustrating. The fact that the ads went over that is quite disrespectful, I have to be honest, because I just think if you're at WrestleMania, you should be able to have your entrance sort of showcased to the world. And the fact that they put ads over that is quite disappointing. But, we had that spot. We had the Spanish Fly. We had the OG Cutter. We had that crazy sort of, jump from Rey Mysterio going on to Rusev, which was really good as well. I think this match really delivered. And, the Luchadors did a really good job as well. And it's great to see Rey Mysterio continue to just, lace up the boots and perform like he has, because, he's elite, I have to say. So I was, really, really impressed with that one. And then we're moving on to sort of the main matches as well now after the pre-matches. With Trick Williams taking on Sami Zayn, we had Lil Yachty come out. Again, he was a bit cringe with his ad-libs. And I got to say, look, I wasn't in the crowd for the Trick Williams entrance. I know someone that did, so I probably will ask them how the noise was. Because, honestly, it was so quiet. From what I heard on TV, it was actually really quiet, and it actually frustrated me because I expected them to be a lot louder when Trick Williams came out. I don't know if Little Yachty ruined that. I don't know if people were just tired of just saying it 100 times, but I expected the crowd to be a bit more sort of revved up and hyped up for when Trick Williams came out. They were obviously very loud boos to Sami Zayn, and, rightly so. I think it's time that we see a change in Sami Zayn. That speaks for itself. But we did have Trick Williams getting the victory here with the trick shot. Lil Yachty tried to help. He obviously copped a bump into the sidewall, getting flipped around. So Lil Yachty gets his WrestleMania moments as well. There, it went for 7 minutes. It wasn't long. I feel like it could have been a lot longer. And, I think
Carmelo Hayes really deserved to be in this match, and I think it would have been a lot better if he was there. So, I wasn't a big fan of this match overall, but I was a fan of the fact that Trick Williams is the new United States champion. I think well deserved, and I think we're going to see a lot of really good stuff with him as well. So, super keen to sort of see the next step for these new superstars and Trick Williams, because I think he's been amazing and I'm a big fan of him. So that'll be good. And as for Sami Zayn, he's going to be around. Maybe he'll turn on the fans and officially go heel. It's so organic, so I think they should just pull the trigger on it. And then we had Dom Mysterio taking on the Demon. They just called him the Demon. It wasn't Finn Balor. But how cool was it to see the Demon come out? And he wasn't losing this match. There was no chance he was losing it. He dominated from the get-go. We had a few opportunities for Dom to sort of get in and get involved. He had a few 619s. But it ended up being a street fight, which probably was something that we needed on this night, like a match with stipulation. And it took Finn Balor a coup de grace through the table to get the victory here. Dom did really good. Like, he continues to just be massive. I think he might potentially win Money in the Bank. Like, I think the way sort of he's going, he obviously doesn't have an Intercontinental title on him. I think it'd be perfect for him to win the Money in the Bank. I'm not sure if that's going to happen, but, I think that's where his next stage goes. As for sort of Finn Balor, no idea. Like, I think now that he's been this Demon character, I don't think he's going to bring it up again. But I think there's a big opportunity for him to sort of, do something really, really big this year. Now that the shackles are off, now he's not part of the Judgment Day, now that he's a really good babyface. He's obviously an unreal in-ring performer, and he showed that tonight. And so did Dom, to be fair. So I think, don't be surprised if Finn Balor goes for main titles again. But, the Demon, hopefully it comes back again. It's really good to see that back. I'm not going to lie. It was such a throwback to when he won the Universal title. The first ever, might I add. And then we had Jade Cargill taking on Rhea Ripley. And, Rhea Ripley looked really different. Didn't hate it. It just was really different. And, Jade Cargill looked like a machine, a storm. She just looks the part, let's be honest. It's quite amazing how good she looks. And you know what? She backed up her looks with a really, really, really good performance. One of her best in-ring performances. She's obviously improved so much. And she's come and done a really, really good job. She lasted 10 minutes in ring. I was really impressed. And the way that the match ended was obviously we had Meechin and BFAB try to come in and interfere with the match. That's where Io Sky, and honestly pains me that Io Sky did not get on the WrestleMania card, to be honest. It really did pain me that she did not make the WrestleMania card. But she comes in and obviously interferes and helps Rhea Ripley. And you could say that she was a big part in her getting the victory there. We thought Jade Cargill was going to potentially hit the Jaded and, block off the Riptide, but ended up being double counted. And Rhea Ripley gets the victory and is the new women's champion as well. So it looks like she might be moving on to SmackDown, which I think will be really big. And, Jade Cargill did a lot of good things to the title. And I think it's time for Rhea Ripley to sort of continue to just show her prowess. And she's the women's champion. I think well deserved, but, it was all about Jade Cargill. And the question's coming in if she was able to sort of step up with the best. And I think she certainly proved it. And she's going to continue to, I think, be a dominant force in the women's division as she continues to improve in ring. She really impressed me tonight. And I think that was the main thing that I saw. And then we had a little bit of fun with John Cena, Danhausen, with all the sort of midget Housens, which was quite funny. One of them kicking the Miz in the balls and attacking Kit Wilson as well. It was a nice little segment to sort of just, cool off everything. Like, Danhausen's been unbelievable. You could have made an argument that Kit Wilson and The Miz could have potentially tag teamed with Danhausen and Jelly Roll for a WrestleMania moment, but obviously not much space in the card. But, Kit Wilson continues to do really good stuff, and Danhausen is just, he's taken over at the moment. Like, you wouldn't expect this, but he's just been really, really impressive. I have a lot of friends that are not even, wrestling fans that are, literally obsessed with Danhausen. Every time I speak to them, they literally just, add Hausen to everything they say now. So, for people that are not big wrestling fans, the fact that he's reaching out to them is quite impressive. And, everyone talks about him, and that's made me more excited to sort of follow his journey so I can obviously pass it on to my non-wrestling friends or fans. But yeah, Danhausen has done a good job. But we go on to the main event, and man, this main event was unbelievable, I have to be honest. For a match that didn't have any surprises, any turns, anything that was like groundbreaking, just a straight one-on-one wrestling match, it was really, really good. And it went for 33 minutes or almost 34 minutes. And it had everything. It had slow pace. It had very good sort of moves. It had spots. It had, like, these two worked really well together in the ring. And, like, you could just tell that this had main event written all over it. And, you know, you had the table shots. Like, the announcer table got absolutely destroyed in this match. You had the high elbow, the selling. Both guys had, CM Punk had his like head busted wide open. You had them like just basically deflating, and that was in the end. Like, you could say that Danhausen cursed CM Punk, because as CM Punk was going for the second GTS, he just faded out, and that allowed for Roman Reigns to hit the spear and then hit a second spear to become World Heavyweight Champion. And, you know, I think it was the right decision. The OTC is back. And it seems as though, if you go look at the post-wrestling show, Roman Reigns is looking to be full-time for the whole summer. So we're going to see a lot of Roman Reigns, and that might lead to potentially him feuding with Gunther. I'm not sure. CM Punk is not the type to take days off, but we might see a bit of a rest for him. I think him and AJ Lee truly deserve to have a bit of time off. Ever since CM Punk has come back, he hasn't missed a week. Or he's missed one here and there, but you know what I'm saying. So maybe a few months off for CM Punk to just rejuvenate, rest, and then just come back swinging, I think will be good. Whether that happens or not, I'm not sure. But, you know, Roman Reigns is back, and I think we're keen to see him. Like, obviously, he doesn't show up as much as he used to, but if he's going to be full-time for the summer, I think people would be really keen to see that and see him every week. So, you know, that's pretty awesome. And, you know, the match was just phenomenal. Like, seriously phenomenal. Like, again, I was a little frustrated at the end of it when I saw it live that there was no surprises and it just ended like that. But at the same time, I have to say that, you know, it was a really good main event match, and it ended probably the way it should have. I just would have liked to see more surprises, maybe in night one. But we've got the road, or the sort of Raw after WrestleMania to look forward to. Again, I'm not going to try to put my expectations too high, because I think I've been one that expects WrestleMania to be like WrestleMania 40, and I can't expect that every year. So I'm going to try to keep my expectations low and hope that, you know, we see some pretty cool things on the Raw after WrestleMania, because I think that is just as big as, you know, WrestleMania itself, if I'm honest. Like, you can make a real big case of that. And I'm not looking at Twitter. I'm not looking at anything for potential spoilers. I'm just going to wake up tomorrow and, you know, watch it and be super excited for it and see the aftermath of everything. But, you know, overall, I'll give the WrestleMania a 6 out of 10. Night 2 was significantly better. I would give it like an 8 or a 7 or 8 or 9 out of 10, to be honest. And honestly, like, I'm very strict. I was really pissed off with Night 1. I'd give it like a 3. Like, it was rubbish to me. I wasn't happy. The fact, it's just the ads and the length of matches. Like, next year, they need to fix that, because what makes me more frustrated is there was a lot of people that missed out. I know there's already a lot of people in there, but you had people like, you know, Carmella Hayes missing out. You had Io Sky missing out. You had Asuka missing out. You had Tiffany Stratton missing out. You had Damian Priest missing out, for whatever that's worth to anyone. There was a lot of opportunities. Like, the US title could have been, it was defended. The women's US title could have been defended. Like, there was opportunities for more matches. Like, you could have even added more feuds. So the fact that they took that out for ads, obviously to make money, is annoying. But yeah, they recovered for Night 2. And I think they'll be relieved that they did. So again, that's pretty much your WrestleMania review. Obviously, you guys have had a lot of content when it comes to WrestleMania this week. So hopefully you enjoyed my sort of quick opinion and rapid fire opinion on everything. And also enjoyed the first 5 minutes, which was the main event review. Again, I'll be back next week, back to normal with another main event review, as we look forward to Backlash, which is going to be happening sooner rather than later. So, you know, continuing to bring out the content every week for you guys. And I really do hope you guys are enjoying it. So thank you very much, and I'll catch you guys next week. Cheers.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app. so you don't miss a show. Or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.